Modders have been hard at work making Fallout 4 into a totally new experience. Today we're going to be checking out a handful of brand new mods, 2 of which are going to completely change the way you play Fallout 4. I actually had 3 really cool overhauls to the Commonwealth, but sadly a couple of those did get taken down, so I had to revamp and come up with a couple of new ideas, but there's still some really cool stuff to check out. Starting off with our first mod this week, we actually have something that is going to change the way that you navigate the Commonwealth, and hopefully affect not only the way that you play, but also the places that you can go. And that is because we're checking out the mod known as Climb the Commonwealth by Badgerbomb 2077. Now for a little bit of background, this mod is actually based on a mod that came out a while ago by Niher. Niher released a mod that is known as Climbable Ladders. It was a pack of settlement items and available as a modder's resource. And finally, a modder has used it as a resource and has added these climbable ladders all around the Commonwealth in various places, so you can now reach newer heights that you never could before. This could include some unreachable locations like some of the taller billboards around the map, as well as the roofs of some buildings that you could never before access. It also makes some accessible areas that were previously really hard to get to a little bit easier to climb now. And what's really cool is, as you're seeing on screen right now, these are climbable ladders. It's not just something that you click E on and then you phase to the top with a loading screen. You actually climb them with animations, which is such a cool idea. These things are completely animated by Niher, so now whenever you load onto this ladder, you're going to climb it in third person and then pop out at the top. Some of these new areas even have multiple ladders to climb, along with some sets of staircases, offering some really cool verticality to the Commonwealth that you just didn't have before. Now these are scattered all around the wasteland, so there are a handful of locations. It's impossible to show all of them, but there will be even more added over time. And if you have any ideas for them, you can suggest them over on the mod page as well. So if you have a really cool place that you'd like to get to, this is definitely something to check out. Right off the bat, I can already say this is going to make a lot of encounters really interesting. Now you have a new way to approach stealth. You can sneak up to the tops of buildings and really make some vantage points using a sniper rifle to take out enemies from afar. I think this is a really cool mod that is very simple, but very effective in adding a completely new way to approach moving around the Commonwealth, which is just awesome. Fallout 4 has a lot of tall buildings and a lot more verticality than some of the past Fallout, so having this so you can actually utilize that verticality is a really cool mod. Like I said, this one is work in progress, so it's not completely filling every single aspect of the Commonwealth. Not every building's going to have a ladder, but it is going to continue receiving updates, and it already has quite a bit that you can do. So it's something I definitely recommend checking out and exploring right now. If you want to check this mod out, along with every other mod in this video, it will be linked down in the description below. Now the next mod we're checking out is quite interesting because rather than adding to the existing world, it's going to add a whole new world for you to explore that is an entirely new environment with new enemies, new armor, and new weapons, and that is known as Bugs, Swarm Survival Simulator by RascalArt. This is going to be a recreation of a lot of assets from Starship Troopers. That includes armors, enemies, and it's even going to require a weapon mod as well. So you will have a full arsenal to take out a brand new set of enemies on a brand new location. If you want to play this mod, you're going to need to head over to Hubris Comics, and nearby there is going to be a new building which allows you to plug and play into a new VR simulation, which takes you into Bugs, the Swarm Survival Simulator. You can ramp up the difficulty with 3 choosable difficulties. It also functions as a settlement, so you can build defenses like different turrets and objects, even walls, and you can just have fun shooting bugs. It's a nice little arena mode that is really thought out and has its own unique enemies. These are going to be completely custom models, modeled after the bugs from Starship Troopers, and they all have their own unique attacks. They are based on multiple different enemy types. It's not going to be just one bug. There's actually a bunch of these with their own animation sets too, because they are going to be rigged to different creature types, which is just so cool. This is a mod with a ton of effort behind it, and it's something I recommend checking out. It is a lot of fun. It's something that you can use to test new weapons or new armors, and you get to have a lot of fun shooting bugs. That's definitely something that's popular right now. We have a new Starship Troopers game as well as Helldivers, and this is going to bring some of that love over to Fallout 4. Even if you're not really a fan of Starship Troopers or you think this looks a bit out of place, it's honestly just a great horde mode. It has a simple mechanic where you just click some buttons and it starts sending waves of enemies at you. Again, with that integrated settlement system as well as the ability to try out new weapons, I think this is a really cool feature. And to be honest, it even fits in the game pretty well since it is supposed to be a VR simulation. It's at an arcade next to Hubris Comics. It's a nerdy thing that somebody might have done pre-war, which is pretty dang cool. As far as arena mods go, I think this one's integrated into the wasteland pretty dang well, surprisingly considering it's using enemies from a different media. But I can imagine that this is something that could be a piece of fiction in Fallout's universe that people might actually go and do, which is pretty cool. Now then, we have some other traditional types of mods to check out as well, including a brand new armor mod known as Physically Based Graham. This is going to be a recreation of the Joshua Graham armor from Bale. Now, I think this is a very important mod because I don't think we've had a proper set of Joshua Graham armor to date. I think there's been a couple of attempts, but I've never seen a full set that looks exactly correct, and this one has done it, and it's done it pretty well. It has a really good recreation of the armor, and it comes with a couple of different variants and pretty good integration. There's been a handful of times in the past where I thought it'd be really cool to throw a Joshua Graham armor into a screenshot or into some footage to go along with a weapon I'm reviewing, and I've just never had access to one, and now we have one. So if you'd like to roleplay or you have a different reason to use this armor set, and there actually is a couple of good reasons thanks to this mod, this is definitely going to be a mod worth checking out. Now, the reason I say there's a couple of good reasons for that is because this has the full set of Joshua Graham armor, but also it has some variations that removes all of the uniqueness of the bandages and such, and makes just a pretty cool SWAT outfit as well that you could use for your own character or maybe a companion. It's definitely a nice versatile set of armor without the really unique bandage sets. In terms of integration, this is going to be a craftable armor, so you will make this over at the chemistry station, and it comes with different sets. Like I said, there is the standard version, and then a version with all of the bandages and the bandage mask as well, and you can compare those however you'd like. What's really funny too is that this mod even includes the same stats as the armor from New Vegas, so it's quite lore friendly in that way as well. Not quite sure how the armor ended up somewhere else. I mean, the SWAT armor should be around anyways, but the bandages, I suppose, are just bandages. It's really just somebody who's cosplaying as Joshua Graham, and I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who might want to do that. So if you've been looking for a Joshua Graham type armor, or maybe even just a cool set of SWAT armor, this is definitely one that will work for either. Personally, I would have loved to see some integration, maybe adding the SWAT outfit on its own to the different containers around police stations might have been cool, but even as it is, it's still a pretty good set of armor that you can craft over at the chemistry station. It really just depends on what you want. You can always patch this thing yourself if you want to have it integrated into leveled lists or even as some container pickups. Now up next, we have a new set of weapons known as the Six Messengers Pipe Shotguns. This is going to come with a brand new regular pipe shotgun, as well as a handful of uniques that you can find that are very unique. This is going to be a really interesting sort of, I don't want to say break action because it's not quite right, but a single shot shotgun that is going to match with the pipe gun aesthetic. We actually just did a video on pipe guns, and I think that this mod could be used in tandem with all of those. It actually makes use of a lot of mods that I already talked about there, and it's now going to add a new standalone weapon using a lot of that same aesthetic, which is pretty dang cool. Now, when you shoot this weapon, you are going to swing out the entire barrel and load a new shot in and swing it back shut, sort of like the A shot from the Metro series. What's really cool though is there's also a handful of uniques, including one that has two barrels that swing out horizontally and then load back up vertically, all using vanilla animations. This is actually an idea that I had for a gun a long time ago and just never got around to making, and it turns out the Six Messenger had the same idea and they ended up making it perfectly, exactly what I wanted, recreated in their mod, which is pretty cool. Now this is going to use mostly vanilla assets and it's going to use vanilla animations as well, but it's still a really cool mod, making use of the pipe gun stuff to make even more pipe gun variation for raiders. And it is integrated very well. Like I said, on top of that multiple uniques, you also have leveled list integration, so you will be able to find this thing on raiders. It'll start spawning at level 1, and there's even a 50 cal variant that'll start spawning at level 14, which is kind of crazy. A single shot 50 cal rifle is pretty cool though, so that is definitely a nice thing to see in a cool makeshift style. On top of that, there are all of the legendaries that you can find. One is known as the Preved, which is an armor piercing variant that is sold by Cleo in Goodneighbor. One known as the A-Shot, which is going to be a 2-shot version, which is going to be sold by Arturo. And one known as the Duplet, which is going to be a double barrel sold by Trudy in Drumlin Diner, all of which are definitely inspired by Metro. Definitely a very cool weapon that fits very well in the Fallout 4 universe, and definitely fits alongside the different pipe guns. I highly recommend checking out my pipe gun overhaul video if you haven't already, because you can use that in tandem with this mod to make it look even better. But now we have one more mod to check out, and it's another makeshift gun, except this time it's an energy weapon. We have the Mobius handmade laser gun by BlaineMobius. This is going to add a brand new, highly customizable laser gun that has an emphasis on being handmade, and this is part of the Fallout New Austin project. If you're not familiar with that, that is going to be a big project coming out at some point that has an emphasis on being in New Austin, which comes with a whole new set of custom weapons. That's what we've been seeing a lot lately as standalone releases, and they've all been pretty dang cool. I think we've covered every single one that's come out so far, and now we have another one. Now then, by far the biggest selling point of this weapon is its interesting versatility. It has a ton of different attachments based on 3 different weapon sets. Each set is going to change out the receiver and the way the weapon functions, and then also have a whole set of furniture that goes with it, but of course, you can mix and match these things as you like. One of these is going to be very handmade, made out of wood parts and scrap metal. One of them is a little bit nicer, a little bit more factory made, and then one of them is going to be a lot more high tech. Now, the makeshift stuff is going to be known as the WADA receiver, and that's going to be a pretty standard semi-auto option. On top of that, though, there is also going to be the University receiver, which is a little bit more high-tech, and is going to be another semi-auto receiver with a bit more damage, which is quite nice, and it even changes the beam effect on it. And then we also have the Eden receiver, which is going to be a single shot of a beam that kind of has a little bit of a lingering effect and does a ton of damage, which is a really, really cool option as well. Again, you can mix and match these receivers with whatever parts you want, whether you want them to match or look a little bit more handmade. It really is up to you. Now, even though this is intended to be used in Fallout New Austin, it is going to be a perfectly fine standalone weapon mod as well, and it is integrated into the leveled lists. If you want to be able to get this thing, you will actually be able to find it in weapon stores, or you can even pick it up as loot from gunners and raiders after level 10, since it is injected into the leveled lists. You can also craft your own if you head over to the chemistry station and get the Kit AER. Altogether, a very nicely integrated version of a really cool handmade laser gun. Even though it is meant for a different project altogether, it fits pretty well in Fallout 4. It has a nice handmade aesthetic, and more energy weapons is always a nice plus. So yeah, guys, some really cool mods coming out this week. If you want to check any of these out, again, they will all be linked down in the description below. With that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider dropping a like. It really helps out the channel. And if you'd like to support my work directly, whether it's the videos I make here on YouTube or the mods I make on the Nexus, you can do so using the link down in the description to check me out on Patreon. Of course, though, it is completely optional. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!